Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you know, the vote was held last Friday to establish the Great Lakes Water Authority. Macomb was the only no vote. The Great Lakes Water Authority will now be the provider of wholesale water and sewer services that Detroit Water and Sewer used to provide. It's a 40-year lease, and in effect, we'll be paying $90 million more into the system as a result of this lease. $50 million for a lease payment, $25 million per year for 9 years in additional pension payments, $7 million more because it's going to cost more to run two separate systems now that we're Detroit Water and Sewer is keeping their local retail system, and the Great Lakes Water Authority is standing up a separate independent system. And then also $4.5 million for a low-income water residential assistance program. So that's the $90 million we're paying. The county executive approved the MOU in order to give us the time to take a look at the details. We did look at some of the details, and Oakland County shared many of the same concerns that Macomb County did, and for whatever reason, at the end of the day, they voted to approve the lease. So we wanted a regional system, a fair system with equal protections built in, so that it would be a partnership. But we had 5 major concerns that were never resolved, and we brought those up repeatedly. First, we believe that the $90 million should only be paid into the system if there were savings achieved. And we were always told that there would be savings to offset the $90 million. We wanted then to link that. So we'd only pay the money in if actual savings were achieved. That way everyone's working in the same direction. Everyone's trying to save money for all of the ratepayers. And what that $90 million equates to is about a 10% water and sewer hike with this deal than without this deal. So it is certainly substantial. Our second concern was we wanted all communities to be treated the same. That was the intent of the MOU. Detroit Water and Sewer, or Detroit, the city of Detroit is going to be a wholesale customer just like Sterling Heights and all the other 126 communities will be. Unfortunately, unlike all those other communities, Detroit will only be paying into the system what they collect from their residents, not what they use, what their residents use in water, and that's a little different. In Sterling Heights pays the bill to Detroit Water and Sewer in full, and then we collect from our residents. Detroit is not backstopping those bad debts, so Detroit will only turn over the money they actually physically collect in cash each year. We didn't believe that was fair, and that they should completely backstop whatever difference in funds that would be, and they didn't agree. Third issue was that we had no issue with the $50 million going to Detroit for local repairs. That would help the entire system with leaks and all that, and we potentially could shut down a water treatment plant. Unfortunately, what exists in the lease is they do not have to use that $50 million solely for repairs. They can use it to subsidize what they're currently paying in debt. So in effect, they can lower their water and sewer rates for Detroit residents at the expense of not doing the repairs. So we thought that was a pretty big mistake, and they promised only to do repairs, and our thought was, well, then take that language out. The fourth issue we had was we only get one vote. Detroit gets 2. So again, not an equal governance structure. It's unlike the Cobo deal. The Cobo deal is each county gets 1 vote. So without Detroit's cooperation, nothing can get done. And from what I've seen, it appears that Detroit's gotten a better deal in terms of their rates than the suburbs. So without Detroit's cooperation on their 2 votes, we're kind of locked into that inequity going forward. And lastly, we believe that the state should have solved the Highland Park $25 million in debt issue. DWSD came in and helped this at the request of the state to help Highland Park out. Their water plant was not working well, so DWSD gave them the water. Unfortunately, they haven't been paying, and even with 3 state-appointed emergency managers, they continue not to pay. So who's paying for that? It's the suburbs that are paying for that. And we felt, because the governor was involved in this discussion, certainly his aide was, we felt that should be tied up and solved globally. So this had nothing to do with bashing Detroit whatsoever. We just thought without proper protections in place, without some of our concerns being addressed, and without saving the money, we didn't think this was a good deal. However, it did pass. We are still on the authority, so we will be, it'll take months for the authority to stand up. One thing that has to be done is all the model water contracts from every community have to be brought back to every local community to reassign the contract from DWSD to GLWA. So that could be a lengthy process with over 100 communities having to do that, but there's a number of other agreements that we have to complete as well. So it's still going to be many months before it becomes operational, but we're still on the authority. I was only kicked off a CEO selection committee for whatever reason. I had volunteered to be on that committee at the prior meeting. It was a recommendation actually of the South Oakland Community Water District that someone else be on there because there were only the governor's two appointees from Chicago that were overseeing the selection. I volunteered. I asked if anyone else wanted to be. They didn't want to be. So for whatever reason, they decided to kick, rather than include more on that committee, which certainly would have been one option. They decided to remove the Macomb delegate from that selection committee. But the work continues, and hopefully now we can focus in on actually offsetting that $90 million, which is the goal. And that's where we stand today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baker. Councilor, are there any questions for Mr. Baker? Okay, Mr. Romano.
Thank you. Mr. Baker, you mentioned $4.5 million subsidy, water subsidy for Detroit. I don't understand that. What, can you expound on that?
Yeah, it's called the RAP Fund. So it's the Water
I'm sorry, it's called the?
RAP, W-R-A-P.
Okay.
Water Residential Assistance Program. So it's $4.5 million. The details haven't been worked out, but it's for all low-income residents throughout all the communities. However, you know, when push comes to shove, I would assume most of those recipients are going to be to the benefit of the city of Detroit. So that's I think it's 0.5% of the total system revenues are now going to be set aside to those that are having difficulty paying their bills.
So I just, you know, I've got to say this. So let's use Sterling Heights for an example, and I think it's real simple. At least it's simple to me. You pay your water bill, you get water. You don't pay your water bill, they shut you off here. If I'm incorrect, I mean, I understand there's a subsidy there, and I understand there's people that need help, but again, going to what you originally said, I think the greatest proportion of those people are probably south of 14 Mile Road of Sterling Heights. So out of that $4.5 million, I sure would like to know how much of that is actually going to our residents, and that's all I'm concerned about, our residents. It seems like a lot of money to subsidize City of Detroit residents. I don't want to guess a percentage amount, but it's got to be the largest percentage amount of that $4.5 million. Am I incorrect? And if I'm wrong, tell me.
No, I think at one point we asked, there was 30,000 Detroit residents that were behind in their bills.
Oh, there it happened.
If we did the math, I think each one of those would get $150, which isn't a whole lot. So you can see it's going to be rapidly consumed by those that are having difficulty paying their bills for whatever reason. Now, Detroit has attempted to do more shutoffs, but unfortunately we have not seen an improvement in their collection rates so far. Another issue that concerned us. We felt that Detroit should backstop those. They saved $7 billion in bankruptcy. They certainly could have raised their rates to offset those unpaid bills. They're being treated differently. Again, we just thought it was a protection that we should have in place.
Thank you. That's all I have there.